Are we witnessing a new Cold War unfolding between China, Russia, and the West? It seems like tensions are rising on the global stage, with sparks igniting in the heart of Eastern Europe. The Ukraine conflict, a tussle of power and politics, has become a focal point of this global dispute. Russia, a heavyweight in this power play, finds itself in the crosshairs of potential sanctions. The fear of these sanctions has already begun to ripple across the globe, shaking the very foundation of commodity markets. Russia is a key player in the production and export of several vital commodities, from nickel to aluminium, cobalt to copper, palladium to platinum, steel to diamonds, and even fertilizers and wheat. The mere possibility of sanctions against Russia has resulted in a surge in prices, with fears of supply disruptions looming in the air. But it's not just Russia that's in the spotlight. China, another giant on the global stage, has stepped forward with a 12-point position paper on the Ukraine conflict. With this move, China has reiterated its stance, calling for a political settlement and an end to unilateral sanctions. But critics argue that China's claim to neutrality is undermined by its refusal to acknowledge the nature of the conflict and its support for Russia. There are even concerns about China potentially providing Russia with lethal military assistance. The implications of these events are indeed far-reaching. The conflict in Ukraine could potentially disrupt commercial shipping in the Black Sea, affecting wheat exports and further straining global food supplies. The possibility of Russia facing sanctions has raised concerns about the supply of key commodities, while China's position and its potential support for Russia add another layer of complexity to the situation. The stakes are high, and the potential for escalating conflicts is real. The world is on edge, watching closely as these global powers maneuver in this high-stakes game of chess. The tension is palpable, the uncertainty unnerving. But one thing is for sure, the power play has begun. As the chess pieces move on this global board, the world watches, waiting for the next play. Warfare isn't just about military might. The economy plays a crucial role too, so how does this power play affect us financially? Let's start with the dollar, the superstar of the financial world. It's been soaring to its highest level in 2 decades, acting like a financial Hulk smashing other currencies. The dollar index, which measures the greenback against a basket of 6 major currencies, has climbed 15% this year alone. That's its biggest annual leap since 1981. What's behind this meteoric rise? A cocktail of factors is at play here. Europe's energy crisis, Russia's war on Ukraine, fears of a global recession, and aggressive interest rate hikes by the Federal Reserve have all contributed to the dollar's strength, but the story doesn't end there. The dollar's rise is causing waves across the Pacific too. China, a major global player, is feeling the heat. Its foreign exchange reserves have been declining as it tries to counter the dollar's might. That's like watching Superman and Batman going toe-to-toe in the financial universe, and it's not just China. Other central banks are also scrambling to find ways to boost their currencies against the dollar. This global currency war is like a high-stakes poker game where every player is trying to outsmart the others. But amidst this financial frenzy, there's a darker undercurrent. The fear of a global recession is looming like a specter. The aggressive interest rate hikes by the Federal Reserve aimed at cooling inflation could unintentionally tip the global economy into a downturn. That's like trying to put out a fire, but accidentally starting an even bigger one. In this economic chess game, every move can ripple across the globe, affecting you and me. So as we navigate these turbulent financial waters, let's keep our eyes on the horizon and our hands firmly on the wheel. After all, in this global economy, we're all in the same boat. In this economic chess game, every move can ripple across the globe, affecting you and me. In this complex web of global politics, where does each country stand? Let's take a moment to explore the political stances that are shaping this international narrative. China, for instance, has claimed neutrality in the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. However, this stance is somewhat under scrutiny, as it continues to show support for Russia. There's a saying that actions speak louder than words, and in the realm of geopolitics, this couldn't be more accurate. Despite verbal proclamations of impartiality, China's actions have raised eyebrows in the West. There are concerns that China is providing Russia with lethal military assistance, a claim that China fervently denies. This brings us to the Western powers. American officials have been particularly vocal in their criticism of China's stance. They argue that the ongoing war could be brought to a swift end if Russia ceased its attacks on Ukraine. It's a classic case of he said, she said on the global stage, with each country trying to defend its position and protect its interests. China has also been making diplomatic inroads in Europe, releasing position papers and calling for a political settlement to the Ukraine conflict. Interestingly, the European Union is studying these papers closely, indicating that they're not dismissing China's propositions out of hand. Meanwhile, Ukraine sees China's involvement as a positive sign, though it is urging China to do more to stop the war. In the midst of this political dance, China's diplomat Wang Yi met with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The two leaders expressed the importance of their countries' cooperation, adding another layer to this complex geopolitical situation. It's a fascinating chess game of global politics, with each move carrying implications that ripple across borders. Each country is looking out for its interests, forming alliances, breaking them, and then forming new ones. It's an intricate dance of diplomacy, strategy, and power. In the game of global politics, alliances and positions can shift as quickly as the wind. As we continue to watch these events unfold, it's essential to remember that nothing is set in stone, and the political landscape can change in an instant. As we look to the future, what could these events mean for us? The world is at a pivotal juncture. The international chessboard is in flux, with the power dynamics between East and West shifting rapidly. The potential escalation of conflicts could lead to major disruptions in global commodity supplies, causing tremors on the economic front globally. Imagine a world where the supply of key commodities like nickel, aluminum, cobalt, copper, and wheat is disrupted due to geopolitical tensions. Russia, a significant producer and exporter of these commodities, if hit by sanctions, could potentially disrupt commercial shipping in the Black Sea, affecting not just wheat exports, but the global supply chain at large. Prices of these essential commodities would skyrocket, putting pressure on economies worldwide and possibly leading to a global economic crisis. Now let's consider the global economy. The US dollar, already at its highest level in 2 decades, could further strengthen due to Europe's energy crisis and aggressive interest rate hikes by the Federal Reserve. This could lead to other central banks scrambling for ways to boost their currencies against the dollar, causing further instability in global markets. On the political front, we may see a significant shift in global alliances. China and Russia, with their shared opposition to the Cold War mentality and economic sanctions imposed by the West, could strengthen their cooperation, challenging the traditional power dynamics. This could potentially lead to a new world order, with the East gaining more influence over global politics. However, amidst these potential scenarios, there is still room for diplomacy and peace. A political settlement to the Ukraine conflict, as advocated by China, could de-escalate tensions and bring some stability to the global stage. So, as we stand on the brink of what could be a new era in global politics and economics, it's crucial for us to understand that these future scenarios are not set in stone. They are possibilities, shaped by decisions made today. The future remains uncertain, but one thing is clear: the decisions made today will shape our world tomorrow. So, what are the key points that we need to remember from today's discussion? Firstly, we're seeing escalating tensions between China, Russia, and the West. The potential sanctions against Russia due to disputes over Ukraine have already raised concerns about the supply of key commodities. Russia is a significant player in the production and exportation of various commodities such as nickel, aluminium, cobalt, copper, and wheat, among others. Any disruption in these supplies could send shockwaves through global markets. Secondly, the economic impact is already being felt. The strength of the US dollar is at its highest in 2 decades, fueled by Europe's energy crisis, Russia's war on Ukraine, the fear of a global recession, and aggressive interest rate hikes by the Federal Reserve. This surge has prompted reactions from other countries, notably China, as they scramble to bolster their own currencies. Thirdly, we must consider the political stances of different countries. China's stance on the Ukraine conflict is particularly noteworthy. While they've called for a political settlement and an end to sanctions, their claims to neutrality are being questioned due to their refusal to acknowledge the nature of the conflict and their support for Russia. This stance has been met with criticism from Western officials who argue that Russia could end the war by simply ceasing attacks on Ukraine. Lastly, we've looked at possible future scenarios. The European Union is studying China's position paper closely, while urging China to do more to stop the war. The US, on the other hand, is preparing to fund 2 wars and is bracing for an economic storm. In conclusion, the global landscape is becoming increasingly turbulent, with countries taking sides and making moves that could potentially destabilize the world economy. It's a complex and evolving situation that requires our careful attention. As we navigate this turbulent global landscape, understanding these key points can help us make sense of the world around us.